the edge of everywhere, where we all really live, each waking and dreaming hour, though few see or feel the edginess, the tenuousness and the expansiveness, the possibility of a last breath between life and death, or some profound encounter with wonder, where everywhere is every here, for the asking, experiencing. No need to look further than the ground you stand on, the boundless lifescape you're already sensing, venturing, adventuring through. Welcome to the latest floating poetry broadcast, and thank you for leaning in from wherever you're listening right now, under a sun or stars, in a city or a countryside, resting or moving, maybe driving or taking a walk. No matter where and how, I'm delighted we're together here for show 166, coming to you live from the coast of Rhode Island and all its simple, salt-aired wonders. This is your poet and poetorialist Colin Goedecke, a voice for living our days more fully, more alively, more poetically, and with more, of course, of a sense of wonder. Last week's show was about going where the joy is, to or toward your real joy, in any or all forms, from the simple to the supreme, from quiet bliss to out loud jubilance, or sheer ecstasy, or some state of elation, or moments or times of enchantment. Exploring and encouraging, seeking, inviting, opening yourself to joy across your days. And that beautiful rush we get, that pure nourishment it gives us, gives you, your heart, your spirit, your whole being, this rocket fuel for the soul, as I like to think of it. Well, this show, open to every wonder, opening yourself, being open, or even more so, to every wonder you encounter, especially all those around you as you go through your days, witnessing and being touched by the extraordinary in the ordinary, the compelling in the seeming commonplace, and yes, also beholding the larger or greater wonders the earth holds out in its generous hands, like mountain ranges and mighty rivers, old-growth forests, and places like my chosen visual poem for this program, from the Inside Passage of Southeast Alaska during a fascinating floating wilderness journey for 3 I was on there one summer on a 41-foot fishing boat. It was a journey of countless wonders, still resonating inside me summers later. So, I've arranged a wonder-studded, wonder-spiced, and spangled show for you, for us, with cultural commentary, poetry, and musings to evoke and invoke your ponderment and your wonderment. Let's begin with our eyes and our seeing. The eyes that give you a daily window onto the world, that give others a deeper window to what's inside you, even down to where your soul dwells. That smile widely or shyly, wink knowingly or playfully, blink with innocence. The eyes that enable you to see, clear as day, into others' feelings, questions, longings, that reveal you in the mirror when you're really looking, that gaze into blue distances, glance across rooms and tables, glimpse sudden wonders. Your eyes that open to the light and close at night into sleep and far-seeing dreams. Diane Ackerman, Natural Wonders. The old moon lying in the young moon's arms lives in the shadow of her crescent light, and yet he rounds her out, shields her from harm as she ripens in the star-encrusted night. Almost a Tao sign, they embrace with limbs luminous and stark, wedded by less but braced by design. The arch is their symbol, a strength made from two weaknesses. When lightning strikes a beach, it burns the sand, turning it to glass, and those who wander along the shore find shards of frozen fire like flattened ziggurats, fossil lightning, which some call fulgurites, and others know by names more fanciful or dire, and some think live inside dragon bones, and still others hold aloft to shield their eyes from a sun whose flames are distant and hotter, but kill just the same. In extreme cold, snow forms as, quote, diamond dust, a sun rime I've watched in Antarctic skies where the surgical wind blows sharp as a scalpel. The frigid air is too tight to cloud, and yet moisture ices itself up, cascades and flies in a continuous shower of spine-tingling sparkle. Even in winter-waxed New York, flying through blizzard, often the air's fishbowl clear. Then one can survey from the sky's high shelf, despite the ice claws, whirlwinds, and gusts, and see how the battered earth holds herself calm in time and place and diamond dust. Beautiful. Thank you, Diane Ackerman. Take the scenic route. It doesn't have to be breathtaking, but should give you all kinds of room to breathe. The idea is to slow down, ease back, take a route, a road, a path, choose a way, any given day or moment that allows you to take in the scenery, enjoy the view, refreshingly unfamiliar views, to appreciate the wonders of all kinds, of meandering, of unrushing, unwinding, become part of the scenery. The wonder of curiosity, which weaves through all of what we're talking about here and all about wonder. It starts with that. This is Mary Rueffel's poem, Bavaria. The mountain skies were clear except for the umlaut of a cloud over the village. The little girl wore yellow gloves. She looked in the peephole and saw a stack of unused marionettes. Yet, she wondered. Thank you, Mary Rueffel. And talking about meandering there a moment ago, that is what flaneurs do. They meander with no particular goal or destination. They just meander and float about and see what they discover. Usually wonderful things. So this was a poem I wrote to a flaneur I know, and I'm one myself. He's out in the Pacific Northwest, and he's been all over the world in his life and flaneured everywhere. His name is Richard Kehl, K-E-H-L. This was on his 80th birthday, back in 2016. I wrote this at the Ansonia Hotel in that September, where I was doing a poet in residency at the time. So this is one of mine, and it's about those perennial roving seekers, finders, and observers of wonders, flaneurs. This is our flaneur. He's essential to any portrait or panorama of the boulevards, arcades, parks, cafes of Paris, Rome, Buenos Aires, Seattle. Our singular urbane explorer, connoisseur of the greater and lesser cosmos, with his innocently roving, ravishing eye and imagination. Our graceful visual gastronome, faithfully poetic observer of unseen wonders, carried off-piste on currents of curiosity, wherever they may flow, at any given hour or day or change of inner or outer tide or weather. Our cartographer of the exceptionally ephemeral, indelibly yet inevitably fleeting scenes, signs, configurations, sometimes transfigurations. Seeing and stepping with deep delight, his and ours, through the ever-turning, ever-tilting lens of his kaleidoscopic vision. So good words out to him. I will tell him that I shared that tonight with all of you. and whoever's listening around the planet in time to come. Well, Wikipedia, I just took a slip out of that. Curious what they say sometimes about things. Wonder, the emotion. An emotion comparable to surprise that people feel when perceiving something rare or unexpected, but not threatening. It has historically been seen as an important aspect of human nature, specifically being linked with curiosity and the drive behind intellectual exploration. Wonder is also often compared to the emotion of awe, but awe implies fear or respect rather than joy. Science fiction can produce a sense of wonder. Well, I read that and I said, I'm wondering, I was thinking of IQ. You know, we have IQ. I actually have talk about EQ, which is emotional intelligence. But what about a wonder quotient? What if we had that and we could measure it, a WQ? People could say, what's your WQ? I don't know. So I'm going to keep thinking about that. John Steinbeck, a great writer, passed. He wrote about wonder and the relational nature of the universe. From the Sea of Cortez, it is a forgotten masterpiece, and it turns the record of a marine biology expedition in the Gulf of California back in time into an extraordinary lens on how to look and how to think. So here's a piece from that. I thought you'd like and that fit our theme. Small boys have such sharp eyes, and they are quick to notice deviation. Once they know you are generally curious, they bring amazing things. Perhaps we only practice an extension of their urge. It's easy to remember when we were small and lay on our stomachs beside a tide pool, and our minds and eyes went so deeply into it that size and identity were lost, and the creeping hermit crab was our size, and the tiny octopus a monster. Then the waving algae covered us, and we hid under a rock at the bottom and leaped out at fish. It is very possible that we, and even those who probe space with equations, simply extend this wonder. I like that. Thank you, Steinbeck. The wonderful British writer of a century and some back in time, G.K. Chesterton, he said, what was wonderful about childhood is that anything in it was a wonder. It was not merely a world full of miracles. It was a miraculous world. Well, friends, what do you say about that? Would you agree with that? And maybe that's our touchstone, is the energy of childhood and the memories of childhood and that wondrousness and miraculous world. That I remember that very well. To bring that, I'm always bringing that ever more back in, that energy. But I think we all can do that. We can just get into the practice of it. And then it comes naturally. Margaret Fuller, I don't know a lot about her, but I know she was a transcendentalist grande dame. Her years were 1810 to 1850. And she wrote about reaping wonder from everyday reality. And the book I wanted to pull from is Summer on the Lakes. It's a record of her experiences and observations traveling westward from her native New England. So here's a bit. We need only look on the miracle of every day to sate ourselves with thought and admiration every day. But how are our faculties sharpened to do it? Precisely by apprehending the infinite results of every day. Who sees the meaning of the flower uprooted in the plowed field? The plowman who does not look beyond its boundaries and does not raise his eyes from the ground? No, but the poet who sees that field in its relations with the universe and looks oftener to the sky than on the ground. So, only the dreamer, she says, shall understand realities, though in truth his dreaming must not be out of proportion to his waking. Margaret Fuller. Summer on the Lakes. Well, you know, if you listen often or have listened a few times, I love to ask questions of us, of you, whoever's listening. And so before continuing further, questions about wonder in your life. How often are you taken by or overtaken by some experience of wonder, however small, however fleeting? When was your last experience of any kind of wonder? What was it? How did you feel in that moment? or those moments? Where are you on the spectrum of curiosity? From wildly curious on the one end to uncurious on the other, because the more curious you are, the more wide open you are to wonder. What fascinates you and why? What has brought you a sense of wonder throughout your life? Is there any recurring wonder, some touchstone of enchantment that's a weave, that's a thread that's been there for a long time? As you go through your days, are you able to see the extraordinary in the ordinary, the quietly captivating in the commonplace? And if you are, that's grand. And if not, you can cultivate yourself this way, your senses to see and meet the world every day. You can. What about a sense of wonder about your own self? A wonderful feeling of surprise or amazement about your being, about your nature, your body, something else, your heart, your character, your abilities. Or how about someone now or in the past close to you? How would you describe the simple wonders of the place you live in, your home or neighborhood, your town or your city? Or just the weather, the elements, the skies and clouds, the ocean, the forest, the desert maybe, sunrises, sunsets, the heavens, the planets, the constellations. Or music, man-made or the music of the natural world like birdsong or tree frogs. I love the tree frogs. They're quite musical at night here. And what about places you've traveled to, marveled at the people, their faces or their voices or their gestures, the cultures you've experienced, the foods, the aspects of foreign landscapes? Wonders abound. Even when we're sleeping, in our dreams, there they are. So let's open ourselves, or even more, to them all. Joyce Sutphin, The Exam. It is mid-October. The trees are in their autumnal glory, red, yellow, green, orange, outside the classroom where students take the midterm, sniffling softly as if identifying lines from Blake or Keats with such sweet sorrow, summed up in words they never saw before. I am thinking of my parents, of the 6 decades they've been together, of the 30,000 meals they've eaten in the kitchen, of the more than 20,000 nights they've slept under the same roof. I am wondering who could have fashioned the test that would have predicted this success. Who could have known? The Exam. Thank you. Thank you, Joyce Sutphin. I wanted to speak about the poet Ted Kooser, who I'm very fond of his work and spirit. He was the former U.S. Poet Laureate, actually, also 2 times in a row. That was a first, and also the first one from the Great Plains. He has a book, a delightful book. I have to go find my copy again. I was thinking about it, but I had some notes from it. Local Wonders, Seasons in the Bohemian Alps. A book of prose that moves through a Nebraska year and finds wonders all around. This is a review from Spirituality and Practice by Frederic and Marianne Broussat. A memoir recommended for those wanting to learn how to be a connoisseur of the commonplace and practice wonder every day. One of our favorite scenes in the movie Smoke is when Augie shows Paul the albums containing some of the 44,000 pictures he's taken of a cigar store from across the street. When his friend complains that all the photos are the same, Augie points out that although they are of the same spot, they are remarkably different from day to day. One of them even contains something important for Paul to see. Blessings are right in front of us, and some of the best spiritual journeys are the ones we take in our own neighborhoods. Ted Kooser is a visiting professor of English at the University of Nebraska and a retired insurance exec. His poetry has appeared in 9 special collections and 8 books. In this book of prose, he proves to be a gifted connoisseur of the commonplace whose spiritual practice of wonder is awesome. Moving through the 4 seasons in southeastern Nebraska, he doesn't want to miss a thing. There are surprises awaiting him everywhere he turns. One day, for example, he's tickled pink to see his first bobcat while out driving. Quote, I delight in the things I discover right within reach. And other examples from there. He lets us in on his big secret. It is a good thing to savor the place where we live and to lavish it with all the attention we can muster. He even talks at one point, this is an excerpt from the book directly. Today I put on a cowboy shirt my mother made for me when I was 14. It still fits, though the style is quaint. It's red with a white yoke and white cuffs, and the yoke and cuffs are embroidered with plum green cacti. It's the kind of shirt Roy Rogers wore for the Saturday matinees when I was a boy. Long ago, I lost my long-barreled, pearl-handled cap pistols and wore out the boots with the stars. So, yeah, wonderful book. Must reread the whole thing. So yes, that idea of close in, what's close in, that has wonderment about it, and our immediate surroundings. So here's Billy Collins' poem, Print. In the dining room, there is a brown fish hanging on the wall who swims along in his frame while we are eating dinner. He swims in candlelight for all to see, as if he has been swimming forever, even in the darkness of the ink, before someone thought to draw him, and the thin reeds waving in his stream and the clear pebbles strewn upon the sand. No wonder he continues his swimming deep into the night, long after we have blown out the candles and gone upstairs to bed. No wonder I find him in the pale morning light, still swimming, still looking out at me with his one small, spellbound eye. Thank you, Billy Collins. Like that. I've read a lot of his pieces, but I haven't read that. I don't believe. Yes, the wonders of houses and of our own homes, their elements, their spirits, their energies and atmospheres. Here's May Sarton, The Work of Happiness. I thought of happiness, how it is woven out of the silence in the empty house each day, and how it is not sudden and it is not given, but is creation itself, like the growth of a tree. No one has seen it happen, but inside the bark, another circle is growing in the expanding ring. No one has heard the root go deeper in the dark, but the tree is lifted by this inward work, and its plumes shine, and its leaves are glittering. So happiness is woven out of the peace of hours, and strikes its roots deep in the house alone. The old chest in the corner, cool waxed floors, white curtains softly and continually blown as the free air moves quietly about the room. A shelf of books, a table, and the whitewashed wall. These are the dear familiar gods of home, and here the work of faith can best be done. The growing tree is green and musical. For what is happiness but growth in peace? The timeless sense of time when furniture has stood a life's span in a single place. And as the air moves, so the old dreams stir the shining leaves of present happiness. No one has heard thought or listened to a mind, but where people have lived in inwardness, the air is charged with blessing and does bless. Windows look out on mountains, and the walls are kind. Thank you, May Sarton. Lovely. Quietly lovely. And yes, so many simple wonders in our days, in our lives, and opportunities to marvel at them quietly or vocally. Here's Kwame Dawes, Ode to the Clothesline. Not so much the missing of things, but the nostalgia of colors, their music, the ordinary revelation of a family's life caught in the flop and dance, a jig, if you will, of their layers, outer and inner skins, the secret things so close to the body, the taste, the salt and sweet of blood, and crap and piss, and then rinsed and scrubbed, leaving beneath the astringent scent of soap a musky marker of self, for strays to smell or imagine as they walk past the parade of the living, on taut lines, propped by poles with nails for a hook, above the startling green of grass and hedge, the barefaced concrete steps, the sky, inscrutable as a wall. This is what one carries as a kind of sweetness. The labor of brown hands, elbow-deep in suds, the rituals of cleansing, the humility of a darning or a frayed crotch, the dignity of cleanliness, the democracy of truth, the way we lived our lives in the open. Thank you, Kwame Dawes. Well, on that same note of wonder about clothes, I came across this poem by Kate Buckley, My Mother's Closet. I had a fascination with your dresses, the greens, brocades, the belted shapes which spoke of you more poignantly than the photos in their careful frames. Your shoes were their own country, the heels, satins, the inexplicable mud. I scraped them with small fingernails, marveling at the gorgeous debris, wishing I had a microscope. I searched your handbags, examined them for signs, evidence, where you were going, where you had been. Tickets, lipstick, inked hieroglyphics, a broken comb. I even smelled your stockings, sniffing at the crotches like a dog, frantic for any trace of you, my eyes raking their length, wondering at ladders, searching for clues. My father came upon me once, cross-legged on the floor, his sad smile telling me more than any detection. He took my hand and closed the door. My Mother's Closet. Thank you, Kate Buckley. Right on we go. The poet Joyce Carol Oates talks about wonder and the art of beholding beauty in her journals. She said, how lovely this world is, really. One simply has to look. Queer, in fact, maddening to think that, quote, beauty in nature is for us alone, for the human eye alone. Without our consciousness, it doesn't exist. For though the birds and other creatures, quote, see one another, they don't. I assume, quote, see beauty. And what of certain mollusks that secrete extraordinarily beautiful shells, which they themselves never see, since they have no eyes? How on earth can one comprehend that phenomenon? All of nature, all of the given, quote, world, is in fact a work of art. Only the human consciousness can register it, but all of creation participates. Is this a sentimental notion? Is it perhaps romantically far-fetched? I really don't think so. It's the only possible conclusion, and that certain creatures evolved their forms of beauty before the world actually had eyes, before it had any quote, eyes at all, seems to me evidence that evolution, or whatever is meant by evolution, already anticipated the highest form of consciousness at the very start. Thank you, Joyce Carol Oates. There's the wonder of the earth underfoot, my friends. Always underfoot, something to discover. Maybe be very fascinated by. And I thought of this poem about geomancy. Geomancers, those divinators of earthly energies, through the energies of the earth and elements or in artifacts around them. So I wrote this back in January of this year for the geomancers. Everything is a stepping stone to walk and wonder over, a mark, a pattern language to glean into. Tree roots, tortoise shells, wind drifts, wormholes, everything they divine on the fortune-filled ground divinates them. The wonder of trees, from spring to summer to autumn to winter. Aren't they glorious, no matter what season we find them in different ways? Maybe they evoke fresh wonderment in you too. This was back in Central Park when I was living there for many, many years, actually decades. March of 2002. The elephant tree. The elephant tree extends its gray trunk unilaterally. It spouts green leaves into spring, greener leaves over summer, and showers a confetti of nuts and leaves, the color of butter and toast, into the autumn air. I remember loving that tree, and I saw it for so many years, and then one year it was very old and needed to be taken down, and there one day I walked and it was gone. But the memory remained and the energy in that poem. The wonder, of course, of sunsets, the eternal wonder. You've, I'm sure, had your own moments, or maybe many of them. This is one of mine from the Yucatan, from Mexico, 1999, where I spent many winter pauses. And aren't we lucky to have any such sunsets? This is Ave del Paraíso, bird of paradise. As 6 arrives, without a word, the air is infused with pearl-pink molecules. Long clouds form the luminous rose and spun gold plumage of some vast and resplendent bird, an Ave del Paraíso. the rest of which you can only imagine, displaying its marvels below the horizon of the day. I remember that moment still. The wonders of birds and birdsong, one of nature's welcome, innocent wonders, would you say? Certainly to my ears and spirit. Joni Mikowski, birdsong. Bustle and caw. Recall the green heat rising from the new minted earth. Granite and basalt. Proto-continents shuffling and stacking the deck. First shadows flung from the ultraviolet haze. A fern uncurls from the swamp. The microscopic furnace of replication warms the world. One becoming two, four. Exponential blossom. Lush with collision, the teacup balance of X and Y. Cells like balloons escaping into the sky. Then the dumbstruck hour, unmoored by a river. A first fish creeps to the land to marvel at the monstrous buds of its toes. And stars grow feet and walk across the years into these dozing, ordinary days, climbing the spine's winding stair where crickets yawn and history spins. Bird song. Thank you, Joni Mikowski. New poet and poem. Of course, the wonders of summer, and I have another piece for us on that later. One of my favorite seasons. All of them are good, but especially summer. I think it's so much more open in many ways. And all the touchstones to it. And this is a new poem from the very cusp of summer here on the coast of Rhode Island. The first firefly. A sure sign of soon coming summer. Another sweet, salt-aired summer suddenly appears to our delighted eyes, glows solo above the dune roses scenting the June night, echoes the glow of another night light, Venus, floating bright in the western sky, evokes one of the simple wonders and pleasures of every summer, seeing these fireflyers, these fleeting bearers, tiny reminders of nature's gifts of light. And do you love the wonders of nighttime, dear listeners? Rachel Sherwood, The World in the Evening. As this suburban summer wanders toward dark, cats watch from their driveways. They are bored and await miracles. The houses show, through windows, flashes of knife and fork, the blue light of televisions, inconsequential fights between wife and husband in the guest bathroom. Voices sound like echoes in these streets, the chattering of awful boys as they plot behind the juniper and ivy, miniature gorillas that mimic the ancient news of the world and shout threats, piped high across mock fences to girls riding by in the last pieces of light. The color of the sky makes brilliant reflection in the water and oil along the curb, deepened aqua, and the sharp pure rose of the clouds. There is no sun or moon. Few stars wheel above the domestic scene, this half-lit world still, quiet, calming the dogs worried by distant alarms. There, a woman in a window washes a glass. A man across the street laughs through an open door, utterly alien, alone. There is a time, seconds between the last light and the dark stretch ahead, when color is lost. A girl on her swing becomes a swift apparition, black and white flowing suddenly into night. Thank you, Rachel Sherwood. And that made me think of eclipses. That's darkness coming in a way, and the wonder of those. And this was the Great American Eclipse, the Great American Solar Eclipse in 2017 in August. Do you remember that? Where were you when that was happening? Were you? I was standing right under it in a field by a pond. Absolutely incredible. So this poem came to me as I was witnessing this, August 21st, 2017, overshadowing. Long past a last great darkness falling over the breadth of the country, occulting over declarers of independence, over everything animate, inanimate, proximate, over every one under the sun. Now, another total solar wonder, this time preceded by a sacred circling of hawks above the highest pine, by double-winged diadems of black and chalk-blue dragonflies landing on outspread branches and blankets, by a knowing, slow-rising music of birds and crickets above the surface, turtles and breathing fish below, by a harmonizing, vitalizing breeze stirring every leaf, reed, and petal, by seated and standing figures around the pond, quietly beholding the hiding and seeking sun, the syzygy, all the supernaturality. Wonderful moment. The wonder of the stars, the wider heavens. This is Linda Hogan, lost in the Milky Way. Some of us are like trees that grow with a spiral grain as if prepared for the path of the Spirit's journey to the world of all souls. It is not an easy path. A dog stands at the opening constellation past the great helping hand. The dog wants to know, did you ever harm an animal, hurt any creature? Did you take a life you didn't eat? This is the first on your map. There is another, my people made of the great beyond, that lies farther away than this galaxy. It is a world that can't be imagined by ordinary means. After this first one, the next could be a map of forever. It could be a cartography shining only at some times of the year, like a great web of finery some spider pulled from herself, to help you recall your true following, your first white breath in the cold. The next door opens, and old woman counts your scars. She's interested in how you have been hurt and not in anything akin to sin. From between stars are the words we now refuse. Loneliness, longing, whatever suffering might follow your life into the sky. Once those are gone, the life you had against your own will, the hope, even the prayers, take you one more bend around the river of sky. Thank you, Linda Hogan. Well, we were talking about nature and the elements, and I wanted to play you a musically scored recording, original music, for one of my poems by a marvelous composer, Jacob Friedman, called The Elements. Let me see if I can just play it now for you, for us. The elements are here to connect us to the pure power and wonder of nature, its presence, its miraculousness. From the winds to the rains, the fiercest heat to the wildest cold, and to all the purely elemental, powerful, wonderful inside us, inside our bodies, spirits, imaginations. The forces of outer and inner nature that challenge and inspire us surround and speak to us, to every man, woman, and child among us. These elements, these firmaments of contrast and contest, of past, present, and humbling, ennobling energy. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I still think that's beautifully done. Very, very honored to have that piece in the world. Poet, writer, and wanderer Diane Ackerman. She has talked often about wonder in different books. This is from the book I Praise My Destroyer. And she even talks about how to eat an apricot. First warm its continuous curve in cupped hands, holding it as you might a brandy snifter, then caress the velvety sheen with one thumb and run your fingertips over its nap. Wonder, she said, is the heaviest element in the periodic table of the heart. Even a tiny piece of it can stop time. There's a terrible hollowness, she says, too, an emptiness at the core of society right now that comes from our trying to exile ourselves farther and farther from nature. Nature is something that most people visit on weekends, yet we evolved to be intimately tied to nature, to feel whole and natural when we belong to nature, and to respond to that ever-changing fantasia of the seasons. The harder that we try to deny that heritage, the more alienated we become. Let us not be alienated, my friends, ever. Let's go the other direction. Talking about how to eat an apricot, I was thinking of a poem that came to me as I was at a beautiful restaurant in Roma, September 1997. It was called La Rosetta, may still be there. That sometime wonder of eating, and I've been fortunate to have many transporting experiences around food. This was one of them. It's titled Mangiare il mare, eating the sea. Suddenly I'm eating the sea from a simple dish of linguine e scampi. I'm drinking the earth from a pale straw glass of greco di tuffo. The sea and the earth meeting at a table in this city where it's clear such things are eternal. I was also thinking about much about the wonders of people that we know and love. Yes, walking, breathing wonders in our lives. In your life, who is that? Who are they? This is one of a number of them. A soul sister, Tabitha Shalem. It's called Sister. Sister of the light. Sister of the stars. Sister of the waters. Sister of what was. Sister of what will be. Sister of the heart. Sister of the whole. Let all these fill you. All hold you. All speak, sing in their ways from their deeper wonders to you, and you from yours to them. And love out to her. Yes, one of the greatest wonders, not just others, but our own aliveness, your aliveness. Marvel. Marvel as you travel into the heart of life, how alive you are. I had many poems about marvelous places, fascinating places, magical places we encounter, I've encountered memorably, and in this case, mythical. This was from Kaliskea on the island of Kea in the Cyclades in Greece. The road to Kaliskea. The ochre earth road spools down, sails out, plunges into sapphire, into the swaying sea. Marble-strewn coves shelter solitary boats, sun-blown branches, slow-swimming bodies. A lyre wind plays gently, lyrically, over the waters, over the wonders. It's my touchstone back there among other poems that happened there. 2 summers in a row. The marvel of natural wonders, and of memories of them, and man-made ones too, that were natural to certain people back in time in their childhoods. This is a poem I came across by Chase Twitchell, Twicchell, Twitchell, maybe. Tourist traps. It's upstate New York in the 1950s. Land of amusements, natural wonders like Ausable Chasm and High Falls Gorge, and tourist traps, kiddie parks like Land of Make-Believe. A castle with a dungeon, and train cars just wide enough for one kid. You can still see pink turrets through the trees, and under the eaves the paper lanterns of wasps. At 1,000 Animals, you could drive a cart pulled by an ostrich, or pose for a Polaroid with a boa at the Serpentarium. Then feed him a mouse, or watch boys in a pit milk snakes for venom. Nothing's left but Santa's Workshop, June through August. Frontier town's gone. The antique stagecoach jounced on a flatbed out of town. When I can't sleep or I'm trying to stay awake in the car, I slip back into the traffic of children roaming the child-sized streets, floating past their parents on the carousel. I hand-feed the deer. I walk in and out of the fake jail and climb the castle's stucco tower. I don't stay too long. I don't want to end up trapped in a place where childhood never ends. Tourist traps. Thank you, Chase Twitchell. From Horses Where the Answers Should Have Been. Well, as we're in the sweet swing of summer now here in New England, here in Rhode Island, I also wanted to bow to the returning wonders of summertime a bit more. And here in Westerly by the Sea came this poem on the summer solstice and the first day of summer. It's called Dishing Up Summer. It arrives on a warm white cloud. It arrives on soft rolls of ocean waves along a sand-pebbled shore. It arrives on a bed of blooming dune roses. It comes to your senses. It comes to your plate. It comes to your pitcher of memories, reveries. It whets the appetite of children and fishermen, beachgoers and beachcombers, sunbathers and swimmers, sailors, gardeners, barbecuers, and straw-hatted farmers. It comes one day, just like that, and keeps coming, to the table of your days, your nights, sunrise to sunset, even when you're sleeping, dreaming, sometimes spiced with the salt air of the sea, or the resin of a coastal or mountain forest, sometimes soaked in the delicious heat of a sultry sun, or the succulent coolness of a heat-breaking rain, sometimes lit by flashes of lightning or lightning bugs, every part of it a feast of servings for savoring, beginning today, with the first and longest light and taste of all the welcome light and tastes of the summer days yet to come. Happy summer to all those who are celebrating it firsthand, and all those who would like to be, and all those who dream of it. And whenever they have it, come to them. So as we come now into our last musings and sharings for this week, well, let's be discoverers of beauty and beautiful wonder, shall we? This poem is Discoverer, and I lead it with a quote by the Italian writer Italo Calvino, who said, "Chi ha l'occhio trova quel che cerca anche a occhi chiusi." He who has a sharp eye finds what he is looking for even with his eyes closed. Driving on the night highway, I pass a large blue and white sign lit brightly by my headlights. Discover beautiful Rhode Island, which brings a smile, because I have discovered its beauty, beauty of many kinds that drew me to make a home for body and spirit here by the sea. It also lights a spark, a thought for others on their roads, their travels, their journeys. Whoever you are, whatever those are. What if each day you choose to discover something else, or newly beautiful, about a friend or a partner, a walk you're on, a dinner you're making, a conversation you're having, or work you're doing, the place you live in, about the day itself, about this moment, about yourself, which you can do with your eyes open or closed, even and sometimes even more so with your eyes closed, where the beauty can be even more visible, palpable, embraceable. I say this to those who know this to be so, and for those who wish to know. The experience of falling to the knees of your heart filled with this seeing, squinting into the sunlight of it, whistling into the joy of it, waltzing gracefully into the wonder of it, of why we're here, while we're here, to behold the myriad beauties that keep appearing, unfolding, to be a deep seer, lover, appreciator of all the beautiful discoveries awaiting, inviting, and never ending. Rumbling. What are the gods rumbling about, raining and thundering about tonight so suddenly? I take my naked body and curiosity out of bed, down the dark stairs and through the front door into the lavender flashing air to see, where I pause, stand, let the cool falling drops refresh my face and limbs, remove the day's sultriness. Let the soles of my feet slow kiss the wet stone steps. Listen to the hidden crickets and chorus of tree frogs singing their summer songs, unstopped by the pouring. Feel the whole street fast asleep, except for one upper light still burning across the way for another possible listener or wanderer, and the restless, blusterous gods astir somewhere, far beyond the star-blotting clouds. on the wonder of the moon, the enchantments of the moon, the lunar. Like that recent strawberry moon, the supermoon we had. This was on the lunar eclipse in January of 2019. It's called Blood Moon. The only thing warm tonight in the deep winter sky, and soon to occlude, the wolf moon, ice moon, old moon. During its dowsing, a time for howling out our truth to the star-studded universe, so deeply listening. Offering up wonder for these rare passages of our planetary nature, like generations of strangers, of ancestors before us, divining the light inside our shadow as it passes so silently, so mysteriously, red-bloodedly over the earth. Blood moon. The wonder of rainbows. A rainbow appears in my sky, filling me with many colored hopes that recovery from hard-labored times is near at hand, inspiring me to let the simple wonder of it all keep prisming in, brightening my horizon line. And next to last, for now, but I'll have a sip of water. Next to last, the wonder of stars, which are all out now here overhead. I will go look at them after the show. Speaks the star. Through time, space, histories. Simply giving itself, sharing its light, its distant yet deeply present peace, quiet through each night. Asking nothing in return. Getting everything in a return of simple, eternal wonder. And last for now, till we're together again here, over the airwaves, a whole universe, so vast, marvelous, mysterious, the one we live in, the one we read about, talk, write, and muse about. But why bypass the one as profound, as boundless, that lives not out there, but in here, inside each of us? We miraculous mirrors, microcosms, embodiers of that universe, its wisdom, energy, and wonder, awaiting our discovery, unveiling, expressing, in our own way, space, and time. The whole universe of you. Thank you again, friends, for leading in, thinking and feeling in, and wondering in. Thanks, too, for sharing these shows with others. Freely post a program link or the whole playlist out to friends or social media. I'm always keen to bring more enthusiasts into our listening circle. And as always, I invite you to send me any comments, questions, or reflections from your listening. And yes, any gifts, any donations you might like to make to support these weekly broadcasts as my gift of inspiration and uplift to you and others. If there's some theme you'd like me to do a future show around, send me an email, colin@poetorialist.com. And what about your experience of this show on Open to Every Wonder? I would love to hear. If you are making a contribution, thank you so much. You can send it easily by Venmo to Fivefold, Fivefold, at pipeline.com, or PayPal to the same email. Or just mail a check to me to P.O. Box 1032, Westerly, Rhode Island 02891. Or you can donate through my site, thepoetorialist.com, at the Donate tab. If you're new to the broadcast, I can be sponsored or privately hosted as a working poet in residence in the U.S. or elsewhere to create a new flight of poetic art and dedicate it to a patron or sponsor. If that's you, email me to explore. Meanwhile, you can hear all the broadcasts online on YouTube on the Floating Poetry playlist. And if you're interested, you can also follow the Poetosphere, a one-of-a-kind source of inspiration I'm guiding, coming later this summer. Go to thepoetosphere.com for a sense of what's next and sign up for updates if you like. Meanwhile, I hope you'll lean in soon again. Until then, dear listeners, stay curious and open, wide open, to all the wonders around you that each day brings, that life brings your way, gifts you, graces you with, that fill us each and all with such good energy, such good feeling, and remind us, reaffirm to us the marvelous moments and dimensions of life that are here, still here, inside and around us, regardless of anything else to the contrary. There's much to be said for living in a state of free-flowing fascination. And as the poet and spiritual writer Gunilla Norris said to a friend of mine who relayed this to me this very day, be kind and never lose your wonder. Good words. Well, goodbye for now. Goodbye and good spirits.